So what is economics and why do they make you take this course? Well, economics is the study of how people, and we mean people, we mean you, your mother, your brother, people make up institutions. So they make up the government, they make up businesses. So how do people use scarce resources to satisfy their unlimited wants? We have lots of things that we want, but we only have so much money and time in order to acquire those things that we want. So why do they make you take economics? Why are we studying how people make these choices to satisfy their unlimited wants? Well, in macroeconomics, we look at things like inflation, unemployment, and interest rates. So do you care about inflation? Do you care if prices go up and down? Well, yeah, I mean, we care if it's going to cost more to buy lunch. We care if it's going to cost more to go to college, right? We care if it's going to cost more to buy a house or buy a car. So we want to be able to predict what's going to be happening to prices. And if we are looking at what's happening to prices in a single market, then that's microeconomics. See if I can get this to right here. So microeconomics is price theory. It looks at what changes prices. But when we start to look at the price in lots of markets, so we're looking at the price of all the things that a typical consumer buys, then we are looking at macro. So we talk about inflation in macro. We talk about the changes of prices in a particular market in micro. Well, do we care about interest rates? Do you care how much it costs to get a loan? Well, if you're trying to get a loan for a house or a car, or maybe you're trying to get a loan to expand your business, you care what the interest rates are. You care about the unemployment rate because it impacts your ability to get a job because that's the competition. It impacts your ability to find good workers because when the unemployment rate is high, your business has lots of choice on who to hire. And if the unemployment rate is low, you're probably going to have to pay your workers more to keep them from going somewhere else. So we care about unemployment, inflation, interest rates. They impact us whether we are an individual, an employee, or whether we are the employer running a business or working for the business. We care whether the economy is growing or shrinking because as the size of the economy, the amount we produce, changes collectively, that is going to impact unemployment. It's going to impact inflation. Okay, so we need to be able to look on the horizon and predict what is going to be happening with the economy. Over the next year, will it grow? Will it shrink? Will the unemployment rate go up or down? Will prices be going up and down? So that we personally and professionally can prepare for what's happening in the market, what's happening with prices, what's happening with jobs, right? What's happening with our taxes, okay? So we care about these topics, which is why we take economics. Another example of why you should care about economics is wrapped up in the story about the Edsel. So have you ever heard of the Edsel? So Time magazine called the Edsel one of the 50 worst cars of all time. Well, the Edsel, so the Ford Edsel, was introduced in 1956. It was named after Henry Ford's brother, Edsel, but it wasn't a lemon. So why was this car considered to be one of the worst cars of all time? Well, the problem with the Edsel is that it came when the economy was changing. So the Edsel was introduced in 1956, and check out the video in Blackboard, the advertisement of the Edsel, and you can see that the Edsel is a luxury vehicle, all right? Beautiful, expensive luxury vehicle. Well, the problem is in 1956, the price of gasoline was on the rise. Gas was getting more expensive, and this luxury vehicle was not very fuel efficient. Consumers were demanding more fuel efficient cars. Then in 1957, a recession hits. Okay, economy contracts, people lose their jobs, they have less income. Well, what happens to the sale of a luxury vehicle when there's a recession? Well, if there's less people with higher levels of income, there are less people willing to spend money on a fancy car, right? Fancy being more expensive. So people couldn't afford the car and they didn't want a gas guzzler. So in fact, the Edsel was discontinued in 1960 due to poor sales. Now, in the year it came out, it sold 63,000 vehicles. This was the second highest seller of that year. It did great. But if we look at its total sales, remember it was discontinued in 1960, so four years later, it sold 63,000 in the first year, 84,000 in total. This was less than was needed to break even on the cost to develop and create the vehicle. So we need to understand economics so that we don't work for businesses or start businesses that create products that no one is willing to buy, that can't survive in the market. And so we need to know about economics so that our businesses and our individual lives can be successful. We need to know what's happening in the economy around us.